Here we are, right on schedule. So let's see who's going to jump on in here. Better do check on my phone and make sure that this is working. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Any of the early birds out there? Let me know. Let's see here. You always have to validate what you're doing, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute because once I left my corporate job, I have to say, as much as I didn't like policies and procedures, I'm going to tell you why they're important sometimes. So it looks like we are live. So we'll let some more people jump on in here. Jerry's here. Jerry, man, your video's coming out tomorrow. So get ready for that. There's a couple of good little clips in there. Zero, what's going on, man? And oh yeah. Flow 77. What's going on, man? Hopefully everybody is having a good Saturday night. I got my drink. I got a backup drink here, and we'll be talking about the so-called Dutch 3000 that's coming up in less than 2 weeks' time. But I need to share with you guys something that happened the other day. So if you guys aren't following the podcasts that I do with Gary from Castle Customs, well, we normally record those on Thursday nights. So we always have a plan. We have a guest, and we had a really good guest this past Thursday. I kid you guys not. We had him on. We had an amazing discussion and like 2 hours, and it was really good. And I'm going to admit, I'll be the first one to admit, not all guests are great guests or, radio voice or whatever it is. Maybe they're just not that interesting. However, our guest leaves. Me and Gary go to turn off the recording. Guess what? Neither one of us hit the record button. So the whole time, and Lance, who just joined in, Fox Body FX, man, let me tell you, I knew the day was going to come where I was either going to lose footage because of a corrupted micro SD card or God knows what, lost the GoPro, whatever it might be. We lost. Well, we had nothing to lose. We never hit the record button. So let me tell you, that big shiny button in the top right corner, man, like so important. So I had to share that with you guys because it just like added to all of the things. And this is like a perfect segue, rambling as people are joining here because I want to get to the main topic of talking about Foxtoberfest and the cars I'm bringing and readiness to try and get ready for car shows because, man, it's been a stressful little time. So and I really appreciate everybody hopping in here. Sean, what's going on, man? All the way up in Toronto. Think First Productions, what's going on? And yeah, guys, I have to say. So me and Gary, we re-recorded another pod. Our guest that we had on the Thursday, he wasn't able to join us the next day. I had to call him the next day. I felt like, could you imagine you invite somebody on, they share all their secrets and everything else for 2 hours, and it's nothing rehearsed. It's just pure, organic, awesome conversation. And then you got to call them up the next day and be like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, we lost all that. So that actual conversation will always live between me, the guest, and Gary. We are going to do a redo. So you guys will hear it on the podcast. It comes out on Monday. So as more people are jumping in here, my man Tom, War Admiral, what's going on, man? Super excited to see you in a couple weeks. Michael Gonzalez. Yes, I will be coming into the LMR cruise. I'll probably bring the Lightning, the white one. And I'm actually thinking about bringing this white notch. Maybe like white on white Lightning, white on white notch, and just kind of go with the whole theme. And what do we got? Like... Oh, man, I didn't put you on timeout. Gary put you on timeout. Let's just, make that straight and clear up front here. Yeah, guys, I don't know if I'm going to have any Dutch shirts available at Foxtoberfest when I'm up there, but I am going to start making them available on the website soon. So with that said, what time are we? 9:04? Yeah, 9:05. I'm going to start talking about some of the plans and what's going on. So what's going on, Zero? And what else we got here? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to read comments as they're coming in. And yeah, Michael, man, I missed LMR last year. And like this year, it's just like all the events are happening like in sequence, right? You got Foxtoberfest, then you got the LMR cruise in. There's actually a local event here to me in the Georgetown. I think it's in Taylor at the end of the month. And then it's SEMA. So it's like 1 month of just attempted organized chaos is probably the best way to put it. Jerry, my man, we'll get you a Biggie size shirt. So yeah, I'm sure you guys are no strangers. There's lots of shows and lots of things going on. And yeah, let's get into it. We're 9:06 now. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the Detch 3000 and what it is. Well, I'll rewind a little bit. So if anybody knows me, you would know that one of my bucket list items is to do the gumball. So hopefully you guys know what the Gumball 3000 is. It's pretty much any car goes, and they always have different routes every single year. And sometimes it's like different continents and they fly the cars around. It's pretty exclusive and it's got pretty bougie is probably the best way to describe it. And like, you got to have deep pockets. Like I would have to sell a couple Fox bodies just to be able to participate. So I figured, you know what? A couple years ago, I'd create my own. So when I actually imported my E39 M5 over from the Middle East up into Canada, I actually had it shipped to Texas, and me and Mr. Notorious, good friend of mine, Jordan, we drove that thing like Texas all the way to Florida all the way through Tennessee, all through the whiskey distilleries, Jack Daniels, Old Smoky, Moonshine, all that stuff up to Canada. And I made my own gumball. So as you guys know, I purchased that 250,000-mile Detch car, the 1987, and Gary Castle Customs also shared that kind of that reveal. I haven't seen the car in person, right? Because it was up in British Columbia, Canada. He's bought the car on my behalf. He did all the dealings with the previous owner. And, you know, he says the car is mint. And we're talking, again, 250,000 like legit miles, like Carfax documented. So why wouldn't you take that 250,000-mile car and decide to just put 3,000 miles on it to try and get to Foxtoberfest, right? So we have officially come up with our route. It's officially going to start on October the 4th. So I'm going to fly up to Washington, which is just south of the border, for Gary, who's up in British Columbia, Canada. And he's going to meet me pretty much at one of the local airports in Spokane, whatever, however you pronounce it. If you're from there and I'm saying it wrong, my apologies. And I'm hopping in this car with Gary. And if you guys don't know, I've never met Gary in person. You know what I mean? This is just like, I know a guy who loves Fox bodies just as much as me. He left the corporate world around the same time as me. We're both the same age. So like we got a lot of stuff in common going on. And every time we do a podcast or we're just talking randomly, you know, we have a lot of stuff in common. So we're like, can we last 3,000 miles in the same car together? Sure. Why not? And so that's what's going to happen. We are going to go from Washington up into northern Yellowstone. We're going to cruise all the way through Yellowstone, down through like Old Faithful and relive our childhood cartoons and all that stuff, and down through Denver, Colorado, make our way back here to my shop here in Texas. And then we're going to have, so we're planning on doing that route, which is, oh man, a couple thousand miles on its own. And we'll have a couple days here in Texas just to take a breather. Got to do a couple mods to the car before it shows up to Foxtoberfest. I got some original Simmons wheels that would have been a Detch option for it. I'm hoping to put a proper Detch front bumper on it, because if you guys haven't seen, the guy actually left the GT front bumper. He wanted the fog lights. So everything else is Detch, but he left the GT nose cone on. So I'm going to have to cut it to get the Detch skirt on, but it's going to complete the car. So that's the plan. And then from here, we're going to Foxtoberfest. It is just over 3,000 miles in total, all in this Fox body, and we're going to do it. So I'm hoping we win the award for furthest distance traveled. You would think that we would. And Gary's actually got quite a bit of work to do. He actually told me he was going to start getting the car ready tonight. And I don't know if, I'm going to shoot him a message and I'm going to see. I'm going to poke him because it's really important. Like, we're not talking, we're just going to drive the car 2-3 hours to the show, maybe even 10 hours. We got friends from Florida that are going to drive up to North Carolina. No big deal. Like, this is a pretty serious drive. So let me see if I can get Gary here. We'll see. I always communicate with him on WhatsApp. What do we got?
Yo, buddy.
What's going on?
How are you?
Oh, man, I'm good. I'm doing the live. I didn't know if you were actually working on the car or not.
I am.
Sweet. You should jump on.
You want me to buzz in?
Yeah, you should, man. If you got some camera, then just show off some of the footage. Because you know what? I got cars behind me, but it'd be even better if you had your car behind you. Well, my car
buddy,
behind you.
I'll buzz in. I'll see you in a sec.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. So Kazel hopefully will jump in here. Nashville, I-40. Yes. I kind of put the map up, a small picture of it. So we're going to try and figure out some stopping points. So our idea, or what we're hoping to be able to do, is a lot of streams, like live. So we'll do some YouTube. We're going to balance it out with some Instagram. We will obviously we got to do some podcast recording. There'll be a lot of pictures, a lot of stories, a lot of reels. And Fox Body FX, Lance, man, we almost need you in the car because you're like the media guy. Now, it's like everybody sort of has their strengths, right? Like, some people are good at wrenching. Some people are good at being a face and like a true influencer. And then you got people who actually do media and, marketing and everything properly. So it's always good to have that assistance. So yeah, guys, what do we got here? Lamar, what's up? Memphis. Man, Tennessee is always a blast. I'm sure we're going to find a way. If you guys aren't used to me and Gary, yeah, we typically have something to drink. Obviously, we don't drink and drive, but we do like to have a stop and a good relax. Flow 77, Florida. Man, Florida is like a second home to me. I absolutely adore Florida. It was actually a tough call between Florida and Texas, to be honest with you guys. I love to get over to Florida. So next time I'm that way, I still got the 86 coupe, right? I'm sitting at Spikes refinishing. So hopefully that's going to be getting completed towards the end of the year. And then I can start putting that back together first thing next year. So that is the plan on that car. And as I'm waiting, we'll see if Gary chimes in here. The other cars I'm going to be bringing to the show. So there's going to be 3 Dutch cars. So that's why essentially, there he is.
My man.
Nice. So yeah, so I'm just going over the cars that are going to be at the show. So obviously there's the car that's sitting behind you. And then there's going to be the Dutch number 5 car. So if you guys haven't seen the videos of that car that I restored pretty much over the past couple of years, I bought it in 2017. And I was actually on the fence. I was almost just going to strip all of the Dutch stuff off because it was so rusty. Anybody that's watching now that's used to the northern states or Canada for that matter knows what happens when one of these cars has seen a winter and has seen salt or has seen brine. And the car was rough. The only thing that saved that car was the fact that when I ran the used vehicle report, Derek Hansen, the founder of Dutch, was the first owner, from Ford directly to Derek, then to the Ford dealer where it was sold. And I'm like, there's too much history in this car. So I revived it. And I didn't revive it. We're not talking $100,000 restoration here. This was a functional restoration with intention of the car's not perfect. It never was perfect by any means. and I'd love to get on the track again. You know what I mean? So I put it back together in a way that, mitigated the rust, mitigated any potential further issues, and hopefully can get on the track and be like a true tribute Dutch car. So that one is coming, which I'm really excited about. And then the other one, funny enough, was in Gary's backyard too. He's lucky that there's not two cars in his shop right now. Actually, he ran out of room, so I had to have the car actually transported. It's sitting in a warehouse in Toronto with the transport company. Again, another car I haven't seen in person. So there's going to be two cars I have personally never, ever seen in person. And this other one is the Dutch number 9 car, 12,000 original miles. Documented, hasn't been on the road since 2012. And it really looks the part in the pictures. Hopefully, when I see it, I don't, what's the word, have instant buyer's remorse, because it wasn't a cheap car. When you're finding a 12,000 mile original Fox body, it's not cheap, right? So yes, Tom, Jordan does have number 5 right now. He's been doing all the last little button up things, because I got it 95% of the way to the finish line before I left for Texas last year. I was still waiting on the Dutch valved conies. I was waiting on catback exhaust. I was waiting on a number rear brakes. We all know what the supply chain is and all these shortages, right? So all of those parts were getting gathered. Jordan has spent the past 3.5 days getting all of that stuff on the car. So hopefully when it shows up, I'll be able to drive it and not push it. I don't want to have the classic SEMA build when it looks together, but it actually doesn't move under its own power. So that's where that car is at. The number 9 car is super cool. Guys, it came with the original Dutch build sheet, sold through the Vancouver dealer, and has a Paxton, one of the Dutch option Paxton superchargers on it. It's a really special car. So with that said, while I'm reading through some comments, Gary,
how you doing,
buddy? This car going to make it, man. Dutch 3000.
I think it is. I'm actually, going through it and doing a little bit of a video at the same time, but just, doing the high level, right? Air pressure, wheel nut torque, and on charging the battery. And I'm going to go through, check all the fluids. I mean, it's one thing, I kind of said this in my video, it's one thing to do these for a couple 100-mile drive, but we're doing 3,800. It's a whole different level. So I don't know. It's just all the stuff that, God forbid, something occurs when you're going down the road or happens, and you're like, why didn't I do that before?
Well, hey, you know what's awesome? An awesome little story that you should share. Tell them about the Optima battery.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so this thing's got a red top in it. Anyway, had it tucked in the shop here, kind of covered up. I did put it on a battery charger when I first got it, and then I let it sit here for a bit with no tender, no nothing. And I went to pop the hatch one day, I think to show one of my buddies the stereo or something. And it's got an old school Alpine alarm. So I pushed the button to pop the hatch, nothing. Huh, this is interesting, right? So long story short, battery's completely rocked. It's reading 6 volts. So anyone that's ever horsed around with these Optimas, they're finicky. I'd actually be curious to know if anyone knows the story behind Optima. They came into the market years ago, hot and heavy, where you could throw these batteries down hills, run them upside down, do whatever you wanted, and you'd never have an issue. I hear nothing but headaches. And not to mention the fact that they're $5 bills. They ain't a $150 12 volt, So anyway, I'm going, holy Dinah, here we go. Another $500, right? And long story short, this stack of invoices for anyone that's caught our last live that we did the run through on the car, the previous owner has a file folder like this with old yellow carbon copies from the 80s. It goes right back to the beginning of time when this guy got the car. I'll be damned if I don't get 6-7 invoices deep in there. And here's an invoice for that Optima that was inside of 2 years old. And the way the warranty works, I'm probably boring you here, but red tops are a 3-year. So I took this thing over to the local parts store, which is not the same store it was bought from, but same chain. And I do have a buddy there too. I'm sure that helped a little bit, but he got me a brand new Optima. I gave him that old boat anchor and we got a new red top in her.
And what's funny is I actually walk Gary because I know Tom saying that he hates the ugly colored Optimas. I was a fan of them back in the day. It was one of those things when they first came out, I feel like they were all about quality. And then once things got a little bit more mainstream, they probably shifted manufacturing. Because I want to say they had lifetime warranty when they first came out. Or
I could have
10
thought I
years.
remembered that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, you only get a year. I think on the yellows. Now the reds, actually, I could be wrong, guys, but just based on what I've gone through, I almost feel like the reds have a longer warranty than the yellows, where you'd think a Deep Cycle would actually have the better warranty. Now, the only thing that's kept me on the Optimas is, man, I was cruising the Stalker Vert and actually the white Dutch Coupe behind me. Both of them had Optimas. One had a red top, one had a yellow top, and my friend was driving the white car. I was driving the Stalker Vert from Florida all the way back to Canada. We didn't even get out of Florida, and the alternator puked its guts about 10 p.m., like not even out of Florida. And it's like, where do you go? I'm not going to find an alternator. Like, no store is open at 10 p.m. at this point. I kid you not, I was able to run in between gas stops. Every time that we had to stop and fill up for fuel, I could run the lights, I could run the stereo, I could run everything for those 4 hours, no alternator. We'd get in to fill up for gas, we'd swap the batteries, one car to the other, leave them, leave the one car just be running, we'd swap it, and there'd still be enough juice left to, to do everything that needed to be done. And we did that the whole way back to Canada. So that kind of stuck with me. Now, when Optimas start to go bad, they go bad. You can try some different shocking methods, which I told Gary, you literally take a good battery and you're doing like the jumper cable, shock them with the battery tender. It didn't work. So thankfully he got the warranty. Awesome thing. So that's my little spiel about the Optima batteries.
Well, the other side of this too, buddy, like from a power perspective, actually, let me just throw a quick joke in there. And I think anybody probably watching this live right now is going to agree. Like, this is the trouble with electric. You know the word I want to use. Yeah. We have not perfected batteries. You're lucky if you get 3 to 5 years out of a battery. Like, very, very lucky. So anyway, it is what it is. But the point I was going to bring up is, like, with this trip that we're doing, I mean, we need a good battery. We need a good battery and a good alternator. And actually, check this out, buddy. Amazon showed up today.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Awesome. See,
this power.
Now we can charge the drone, charge our phones, charge our GoPros, all that good stuff.
Now, hopefully it doesn't blow up because it's a red top too.
Before I forget, 89 FHP. You can actually buy a debt shirt off my website, or you can just reach out to me. I can send you the details. I can get it done for you. They are made to order at the moment, so there's a little bit of lead time on them. I don't have them in stock, so to speak, at the moment. C. Allen, AGM, they're a gel cell. So no, you don't get battery acid leaking all over the place, which is, a pretty good thing. The other important thing to note about the Optimas too is that if you get top posts with side posts on it, and for any of you guys that ran stereos or still run a stereo and you want to use the side posts and take the benefit of the additional positive terminal, or the negative for that matter, you can run both positives and one negative, but you cannot run like both negatives and both positives together. It actually starts melting the battery. Ask me how I know. That actually started happening in the Stalker Vert. I forget what pod that was, Gary, when I told you the story, like stuck in the Virginia mountains in the snowstorm.
Right.
Was that a pod?
Well, you got me thinking about this now because I'm running all 4 studs. That's how it came to me.
Ugh. Maybe it's different, but back in the day, yeah, that was like a big no-no.
Right. Well, maybe
So
that's
try
why.
and, like, just see if, like, once it's running, if anything feels hot. Because a friend of mine actually did the same thing in his car. He had a blue top, and it actually started about 3 hours into the drive. It started smelling the rotten egg smell, and that classic battery overheating smell, sort of like
Yeah.
catalytic converters to a certain degree. So sure enough, man, like I had to like kick one of the terminals off to keep it from melting itself. So just be
Wow.
conscious. And you know what? If it was hooked up that way, maybe that's why it went bad.
Could be.
Just like short intervals, not enough to like fry it, but enough of it to wear down the internals. Anyways, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
We got people on the live here.
Well, you know what? I don't think we did this in our last live. Should we fire the old girl up?
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
All right, buddy. Let's do it.
Can you do a burnout on the lift? That'd be sweet.
I'll try to run into my pickup if I screw up.
OFLO, man. Electric motor swap. No, not even for. No giggles. I feel like the timing could be adjusted on that. Starts too quick.
You hear it all right?
Yeah, so I just said, I feel like the timing, you should maybe adjust it. If I feel like it starts too fast. Do you hear that? Car's too loud. He's deaf. He can't hear behind his beard. That must be the issue. Uh-oh. He's got that look on his face when he does something wrong. Where's hopefully he doesn't ban anybody like he did the last time. That's a nice looking car. Oh, look at that. Little bird in the back. It's too bad. I think his microphone's trying to like de-emphasize the noise of the exhaust, unfortunately. But you guys just have to come to Foxtoberfest or meet us along the way and hear it. Lance, a betting board of what parts? Hey, that wouldn't be a bad idea. We're really hoping we don't break down. However, we are going to have, the important toolkit. We'll probably bring a TFI module with us, a 10 mil, 13, all of the little things. The good thing is it's manual. If the starter gets heat soaked and doesn't want to work after a while, we can always bump start it. And Simcoe County, man, you can buy those center lines. I don't know. I've been trying to like give those things away. Nobody wants them, mostly because they are 16-inch, not 17-inch. And SN95 Detch, man, it's out of sight, out of mind. See, Alan, that car is going to come out when SN95s become cool again, maybe. So hopefully that maybe the next year or so, but it's just tucked away in storage. What else do we got? Fred Jones. Can't say I know Fred Jones. I know Mike Jones. Gary's really struggling. He's muted. There he is. Yeah, no, I can't hear you. No. Can you guys all still hear me? Can someone just like comment? Oh yeah, Lance, you must have heard me when I said that SN95s aren't cool. Man, there you go.
Hey, you know what happened?
What happened?
This thing's got like an old school Alpine Bluetooth, and I had my phone connected to it when I was doing that bloody bass run. So I started the car, it connected. Good.
Man,
great.
you've been too busy jamming to the stereo in that thing. You should pop the hatch and show off the stereo.
Okay.
So we are actually going to enter the stereo competition at Foxtoberfest with this thing.
Okay, before we do that, nobody just wants to hear a car idle, do they?
Give her the onion, as Shop Dad says. Sounds good.
Now I'm all smoked out.
I know. I thought just maybe your mic was like, because the car was too loud, it was trying to like adjust itself.
Right.
And then I was just like, man, something must be going on. Like, good thing, you know, you didn't ban somebody again like last time.
Did I
Put
show
them
you
on
this?
their timeout. Oh, look at that.
Right.
So if you try and arm it right now, does it give you the 3 beeps letting you know that something's open?
Let's find out.
Ooh.
Just one.
Huh. Maybe the hatch switch doesn't work.
Maybe.
It should, though. I see the dome light on.
Right. Okay, stereo, right?
Yeah, guys, this is pretty cool. And what else do we have on here? ROH is no, Sean. It's actually going to get a set of Simmons wheels. So the same wheels that are on the Dutch number 5 car, the black basket weave with the polished lips, 16-inch, and they'll look good. We're just going to swap the tires that are on the center lines onto the Simmons, and she'll be good to go.
Here, buddy, I'm going to flip me around here, and then I'll show you this in don't steal me mode, if that it'll make sense in a minute. Right? Incognito.
Look at that.
And then
The old drinking sunroof.
Oh. Hey-oh.
Man, I love those Soundstream amps.
Right?
I know Matt's in here somewhere. There he is. I just saw it. Alpine 8080 alarm.
Oh, Calypso Coyote's in?
Yep.
How's
Hey, he's
he
going to
not
appreciate the
hit it?
Soundstream. Because I forget what that old crappy car was that he had the big stereo in when he was young.
Yeah, a couple of JLs. And
That's
actually,
awesome.
I think oh, good gracious. If I break my neck doing this. Oh, how's my crotch?
Looking at your nuts, man.
Yeah.
Watch the angle.
Okay. I can get this guy out of here with one hand.
Oh, the Corolla. That's what it was. I knew it was an old crappy car.
Right?
Oh, okay. Good thing I need to add to the list. I have my
You're
Case
on.
Logic of old CDs.
Come on.
I'll bring it.
Yeah, how beauty is that? It actually, if you got CDs then, okay, I'll rig this up because that's what this hole's for. You can mount this underneath the beauty plate and whatever, flip your 6 discs on the fly.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised there's Bluetooth in that old head unit.
Dude, Bluetooth and like a mic and everything. You can take calls on it.
That's impressive. It must have been like, man, this guy didn't really like no expense spared. You know what I mean?
None. No, absolutely none. And I've even added an invoice to the mix now too, because I got that new Optima.
Yeah. Actually, so does he have the invoices for the stereo? Do you know if those are like W3s or W6s?
I don't know, buddy. This might be when we go through the invoices over a beer in Texas, or maybe in one of the little honeymoon suites we rent in Yellowstone. Because, yeah, like there's a lift of them, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, look at that.
So check out these old gems. Like these things I barely want to touch. They're old carbon copies of Ford invoices. Like this one's from 91. Replace alt, not charging. 94.50, $196 with labor. How's that for an inflationary kick in the nuts, eh?
All the good old days.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the new battery invoice. 500 and
Nice.
some odd bucks. There's inspections. There, like, it just, buddy, it goes on and on and on. It's crazy. And all the Dutch stuff. And there's actually like one of these is stereo stuff. Right? Like, pretty neat.
Oh
Yeah,
my
like
God.
this, there's the amp tray, right? Like, it was
Yeah.
nicely done for sure.
That is nice. I almost forgot that I could actually show some of these comments. So Tom, you're the first one, man. He says that we're gonna be listening to Endless Love the whole ride. What a funny
Hey,
guy.
I was actually talking to a buddy about this the other day, right? Like old CDs. And he reminded me of a couple there. Like, you remember, because there was always the like the greatest hits almost, like Big Shiny Tunes, or there was that one, was it called Now? Like Now 1 through
Oh, yeah.
25.
Man, I got some Big Booty Mix. I got Pure Dance, Much Dance.
Really?
Oh man, I got some gems. And then like I have like my proper, like my old Tupacs. I got like old Biggie. I got some pretty good stuff. The problem is they're actually so old. And some of you guys, anybody who's old enough to know what a CD is that's listening, like, you know, when the chrome, like the actual, I guess, CD of the CD starts coming off the plastic, and then you start getting like the voids and stuff, then, you know, it makes it challenging to listen to. And that was, a lot of that is the burnt CDs that I have. And, you know, if you bought like the Memorex over the, I don't even know what some of the names are anymore, but some of you guys will know what I'm talking about.
Hey, do you like the paint on the TA?
Oh, is it back?
So the back half is, front half is at the painter. But yeah.
I feel like he turned that out pretty quick because you were just complaining about a bunch of body dust in the shop a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it went kind of aligned the panels, and it went to the body shop pretty quick thereafter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I took the back half of the car. These things, I don't know, I must not have told you about this. So I think everybody's seen Smokey and the Bandit. This whole front clip.
Never seen it.
So this whole front clip is held to the unibody with 4 bolts. So everybody remembers the bridge jump, Burt Reynolds and Frog, right? And he comes down heavy on the front end and drives it out. Horseshit. There's not a chance in hell a Trans Am could do that. There's 4 bolts that hold that whole front end of the car.
It's like watching Dukes of Hazzards, man. You'll see those clips and the car like folds in half, and then all of a sudden it's like all straight again and cruising.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh man, Lance is making me laugh. Napster. Like
Napster, yeah, remember that?
Oh man. Like
we all thought we were
what a
gonna get
trip
thrown
that
in jail.
was, man. Like you remember like dialing in to dial up and getting that stupid, like it's almost like Ken's intro to Blue Oval, like do, 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 but like then and then you'd finally be connected, and like you're trying to download it like whatever 48 kilobits per second or whatever it was, and you know you just like click them all and let them go overnight, and then hope by morning before you'd have to like get to class and hop in the Fox, you hope you got up early enough that you could burn the CD real quick, throw it in the CD player, and you'd be bumping all the way to class. Like, yeah. That's my memory. And you're the same age as me. So like, I know you're right there with me.
Buddy, it was a game changer doing that, because like how many times did you buy a CD for like maybe at best 3 or 4 of the songs that were on it?
Oh yeah.
At $25 a copy. And then when all of a sudden you could pick every single song you wanted, like my mind was blown. It was the first thing I could do is go buy a CD burner and get this virus.
And then the worst part is though, you would make the ultimate CD, right? Like you're like, screw these CDs that I pay for 3 songs. You make the ultimate CD and you put your first favorite 3 songs at the beginning, and then you almost only listen to 3 songs still. You know what I mean?
That, I mean, when was the last time you licked a CD because it skipped or wouldn't play or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, the
Put
old
it on
dish
your
soap
shirt.
trick.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh man.
the old days.
Oh man, we're gonna start losing viewers if we keep talking about all this stuff. Um, but no, for real. I did update them on the route that we're taking before you jumped in.
Oh, nice.
And we're starting October 4th for anybody who's new and joining us now. So October 4th, Spokane, pecan,
Yeah.
tomato, whatever.
Saline.
Yeah. Detch, all the same.
Deck.
So deck. So we're starting there October 4th. If you're anywhere in northern Washington, in between there and Yellowstone, and you want to have a beer or supply a beer, again, we love to take beer donations. So I'm just going to throw that out there. YouTube does not fund us well. Maybe we just drink too much. But anyways, love to have a beer with anybody within the route. And you know what? We'll both post like a more zoomed in, detailed map. Now, again, depending on, like, we're going through some serious terrain, right? Yep. So we actually have a couple emergency routes. If for whatever reason, you just never know when you're at that elevation and you're driving an old Fox body, like we don't want to run into, or even like really bad rain or a storm. We all know what a mountain can do. It can be sunny over here and like life-threatening over there. So we do have a couple last-minute routes that we might navigate around, but generally speaking, Yellowstone down through Colorado and down into Texas. And then from Texas to North Carolina, we'll probably like I-10, I-20, there's a lot of opportunity in there depending how we want to do it. Like whoever's got the more beer or whiskey, probably determine how that pans out.
This is it. So I'm looking at the comments here. David George says, if Yellow end up going through Oklahoma City at some point, beer's on me.
Nice.
I'm in. You're talking my language, buddy. Yeah, and I don't know, did you mention, buddy, like probably the biggest city that we're gonna hit in the first leg, probably on like eve of day 2 is gonna be Denver, right? Mile High City. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's big fox body country or not. I don't know if I know anyone from there that is into that world, but it's so funny because you think you know a lot of people, but then there's people that, like, funny enough, I was watching some of Lance's content there from that California tour he did. I'm like, man, I've never seen some of these cars. Where are these guys? Right?
Yeah.
You think you've seen them all, and then all of a sudden there's a yellow T-top that pops up. Like, what the hell is this?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, no, that was cool. That yellow car that Lance posted needed the moldings on the side in the worst way. Ellen, I gotta say, man, I recorded tapes too. I was there. This is how far I went. I would buy, what was it, the 80-minute Memorex? I forget what it was. I would take the screws out of the one side of the cassette tape. I would pull the reels out. I would cut the tape, and I would actually add, with a little piece of Scotch tape, I would add more reel off another cassette tape to that tape to make it even longer. And I actually...
Come on.
This is like getting into some serious stuff. I actually went as far. So you remember overhead projectors when you were in school?
Yeah.
Like the ET eyeball looking thing?
Yeah, with the plastic
like this, and it would project, right? Yeah. And everything was printed backwards. Well, I forget who it was. When I was in grade school, I got one of my teachers. I went in like an old Apple computer, which the screen was only like this big, and I did little fonts, and I actually wrote all the names of the songs right, into a whatever Word file. And I got the teacher to print it out on an overhead, and I cut it out and put it on one of those like silver underlay things. Anyway, so you could read the text. So I actually made my own cassette tapes.
Come on.
When I was a kid. Like, that's, if anybody at all wanted to know something really interesting about my youth, yes, my own cassette tapes. I was huge into mini disc, and in fact, the white Dutch car still has a mini disc, 4-disc mini disc changer inside the head unit. Like, the creme de la creme of Sony is still in that car. But anyways, I had to share.
Calypso Coyote there, Matt, he's talking about reeling back a tape, right, with the pencil.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember, like, there was some decks, I mean, typically they were like a dumpy OEM deck, but like they only had, it was either fast forward or rewind, so you had to like eject the tape, flip it, right, fast forward it, try and hope you nailed it somewhere in and around the song you're trying to get, flip it back over, get it in there, especially if you're at the one end of the strip, right?
Yeah.
All right, I got to catch up on some of these. You guys are just lighting us up here.
Here we go.
Oh, mini disc.
And this,
hey, I haven't put anybody in jail yet tonight. How about that?
Yeah, I burnt this one recently. This is like the ultimate mix right here.
Nice.
But how cool was the mini disc? I honestly, Sony kicked itself in the nuts by doing all the proprietary stuff. I think Fuji had a small little stint with these as well. But like, you know what I mean? You could delete a song, add a song. You could label all the tracks individually. Like, they didn't skip.
Yeah.
They're protected. You know, they're in a case. Like, pretty amazing technology when you think about it. But it's weird, right? Like, some stuff takes off and some stuff doesn't. And unfortunately, like, EV seems to be taking off.
Yep. No, all that stuff. It's the beta versus VCR, right? Like, beta face planted and VCR took off, and now all that stuff's gone the way of the dinosaur, right?
Yep.
So.
Oh man, Bluetooth. Man, Bluetooth. Like, I love to hate Bluetooth. You know, I love to hate 5G. Like, I feel like all of these new technologies, and I'm a tech guy, like Bluetooth is the most unreliable, like, in a word I want to say, but I'm not going to say, technology out there. You know what I mean? Like, probably I bet you the Bluetooth in that head unit that's in that car, Gary, is more reliable. And you saw how well it auto connected when you started the car up.
Yeah.
I can't even get my like new Bluetooth head unit to auto connect as reliably as just what happened in that car.
Yeah. I know there's something to be said about those old Alpines, right? They were never like the fanciest looking, right? Like Clarion kind of had them beat a little bit, and they were just sort of down and dirty. Always had the volume. No, actually some of them had push button volume, but most of them still had the dial, right? They were just a simple deck that, yeah, I mean, they don't quit. I don't know how old that one is. It ain't that new.
You know, and it's funny, right? Like, the technology is there. And I have to say, if nobody hasn't heard of this, and actually Gary put me on to Todd Lane, who actually integrates Bluetooth into a factory Ford head unit. So, Jerry, man, he's always feeding me the beer, feeding us the beer, man.
Unreal.
What a guy. He knows. He's like, his video's coming out tomorrow. He put me on the beer to convince me to do Coyote swap in his hatch. And he's just like feeding me so that he makes sure that like I get it done, because he knows like I'm fueled by Miller Lite. So thanks, man. Hopefully you like the video that comes out tomorrow. Shit, where was I with that? Oh, yeah.
Todd Lane. But as you're saying that, just to give it yet another shout out, because I can't take full credit for this, Matt Plavaddle, Calypso Coyote, he got me onto Todd, and I think someone got Matt onto Todd too. So this telephone game is taking place, but the beautiful end story of it all is that Todd's been ran off his feet. He called me not too long ago just to check in, and he said that it's going so well, he's actually considering like leaving his day job and doing it full time.
Well, you know what's funny? So you did your video with all the old pile audio and everything.
Yeah.
And when I was working on Dutch number 5, I wanted to keep like the original essence of the car. And I'm like, okay, I'll reach out to Todd. I'll get one of these head units done. And funny enough, I ordered the same pile of crap, if you want to call it, better than factory, right?
Yeah.
So got it all in the car. And I never really, I'm not really good at reaching out to people and being like, hey, you know what? This is who I am and this is what I do. I just kind of ordered it off them. And so I'm doing the twin turbo Coyote car. And I was thinking the guy would want like his Turbo Smart and his, I forget the name of the other gauge that he had, the N gauge, to do all like his, main monitoring, like something cool in the dash there. I figured, you know what? I'll just do a Bluetooth adapter that's hidden. And that way there's a stereo without a stereo, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So he came back to me and he's like, no, man, I want a factory radio in the car. I'm like, oh. So now I need to sort something out for the gauges. But then I'm like, well, what if I got you Bluetooth in the factory head unit? And then he was like, man, you can do that? So I reach out to Todd and I'm like, Todd, man, I need another head unit. And he's like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, man, the other one really went really well. And like, here's a link to it on my channel. And he was just like, he was almost embarrassed. He's like, oh man, I didn't realize you put so much out there on information and everything. Yep. But whatever module he is using or chipset or whatever you want to call it is actually super reliable.
It is.
You turn the car on, your phone connects, they're without a hitch every single time. And I just find it laughable that you go out and you'll buy so-called brand name head unit and whatever else, and then you sometimes end up with unreliability and everything else. So if you guys are interested in Bluetooth and a factory head unit, reach out to Todd Lane. You can find him on Facebook. You kind of got to look for his picture. You know what? Just check out one of mine or Gary's videos, and you'll be able to find his info and contact details in there.
Yep. Well, yeah, and I think both of us, you included, did you run you ran a remote signal off your OEM? Oh no, that wasn't a OEM deck you did that on. That was an aftermarket deck in the Strawberry hatch.
Oh, with the JBL sub.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to put that same JBL sub in the twin turbo car. So I'm going to be tapping into that same wire. And funny enough, and some of you guys might not know this, the earlier cars that had the factory amplifier behind in the back of the center, like behind your factory radio, like back of the console, the connectors are different. And a lot of people always struggle when they buy the wiring adapter connectors to be plug and play. They're like, oh, I'm plugging everything in and they don't work with my aftermarket deck. And it's because the wiring for the speaker side is different because it's actually getting routed into the factory amplifier. So you actually got to reach up underneath and find the factory connectors that go into the harness for the factory amplifier and plug into that. So there's a little bit of info for anybody who cares, but yeah.
Tricks of the trick. Yeah, buddy. But I mean, overall, I think, things look good.
Okay, hold on.
Yep.
Matt, type out in a comment the phonetics of your last name.
Did I butcher it? Son of a gun.
How did you say it, Gary?
Plavidel.
You say it, then I'll try, and we'll see who's closer.
Okay, I'm going to do a redo. Plavidel.
I'm going to say plavidel.
I think that's how I said it first, and that's how I butchered it. Platypus.
Plavidal. So that was close. Plavidel.
Plavidel.
Like clavicle, plavicle.
Okay.
Sorry, Matt.
I just churched it up a little bit. Plavidel. With a little bit of an English or a Canadian twist. About a boot. What's it all about? Don't worry about it.
Oh man, I don't know. See, his phonetic thing, that's kind of how you said it. The dowel is what's getting you.
Yeah, maybe. Okay,
We
sorry,
gotta have
buddy.
fun
I
with
owe you a
stuff,
beer. Yeah, anyway, buddy, like as far as like checking this thing out, like this is not earth-shattering stuff, but tire pressures were all over the place. Wheel nut torques were all over the place.
Right.
Interestingly enough, like driver's side was like over tight and passenger side was loose. So I don't know.
Well, you
Maybe
know what's
something-
funny? It's like you get man, it's actually getting hot in here. My apologies. So funny story. I got this like old hole in a wall tire shop that does all my mounting and balancing, like literally 10 minutes down the road. And I can always rely on them. I can just show up, drop off whatever pile of stuff I got going on. That's anything from a 16 to like a 23. Like they have me covered. So funny enough, I drop the ROH ZS wheels that I got in the staggered fitment. I'm like, I need to get some tires moved around. And two things. The first thing was they were like, and of course, there's a lot of Mexicans that work down here in Southern Texas. He's like, amigo, I couldn't balance your wheels and tires. I'm like, well, why not? He's like, I didn't want to scrape the paint around the center cap because the ROH wheels is actually a really small opening. And I was like, okay, I can appreciate you don't want to chip the paint, but like, dude, like not balanced. Like, is there another shop around that might have something that's smaller that they can get the fitting on there? And he's like, try them. You never know. And I'm just like, really? And so I get home, bolt them on the car, checking the tire pressure. One of them was at like 70. So the thing was, you got to remember when you're trying to like get the bead to seal, like you're blowing a lot of air in there, and then usually you end up backing off air as a result. So forgot to back the air off. But the best part of this story, nothing's balanced. There is not a wheel weight on that car, not a vibration. I took the car all the way up to 100, and I'm talking miles on a Mexican back road. I wouldn't do that in Texas. Not a vibration, not a shake. And if you're still tuned in, like, you know how the car drove before, like smooth as butter. Amazing. Yeah.
Hey, buddy, you got the highlighting abilities, hey?
Oh, yeah. Which one do you want?
Highlight Parm's comment. My buddy Parm, locally here. So this is the fella. For anyone that hasn't seen the video, this is the dude that reveals the mileage of this 87 Dutch. So he's a great dude.
Parm, you should come down to Spokane and have a beer.
I told him, I said, hey, buddy, like we're going to have backseat room, right? Might get a little tight, but whatever you need. Anyway, he's got a couple of twin boys, and he's hair straight back all the time. So I don't think he can get away, but.
Right. Well, there we go. There's Tom. Well, yeah, I guess, in a nutshell, like, unless any of you guys have some questions, last minute questions that you guys want to throw out to us, that's really in a nutshell. Like, I was just kind of like aiming for an hour. I didn't even know if Gary would be available. He was, which is super cool. And that's the plan, right? So I would appreciate that anybody that's in here, if you see any posts that we put up, and obviously we're going to be putting the hashtag Detch3000, we'd super appreciate if you guys reshared, help build the Detch3000 hashtag up so we can kind of get a little bit of a following. Funny thing is, I'm already registered for SEMA, and I sent the link to Gary the other day. Like, they have a blog about like this 30-year-old, was it
Caddy.
Lincoln or Cadillac? The old Broham. And they're going to drive that thing like, I think it was 2,500 miles. I'm like, 2,500 miles in an old 30-year-old Cadillac. I'm like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, come on. 30-year-old Fox body, 3,000 plus miles. Now that's something. Just to, I got to say that.
Buddy, that was pretty good. You ever tried imitating Seinfeld? You almost sound like Seinfeld there. Come on. Come on.
You know what's funny though? That you said that. I'm a huge fan of Tom McDonald. I don't know if anybody knows who Tom McDonald is. White rapper. Some people be like, oh, he's like a wannabe Eminem. Canadian dude, if I remember correctly. And like he's tatted up all crazy and stuff, but he's got like some really, let's just say, self-righteousness type lyrics that have been somewhat controversial, but he speaks truth. If you guys are about truth, the dude speaks truth. Look him up, Tom McDonald. And funny enough, he has one YouTube video. And Gary, you might actually know this. He went to shoot a video in BC. Oh my God, I'm just drawing a blank. There's a sanatorium where everyone had tuberculosis, which is like dead off the map somewhere. Do you know what I'm talking? Tranquil.
I don't know.
So look up Tranquil, British Columbia. He's telling the story. It's a deserted town. If you guys are like into dark tourism, like Chernobyl or like any of those like weird deserted towns, Tranquil is one of those that exists in Canada. We're coming up to Halloween here, so this is kind of fitting, right? So he's like, oh, let's shoot a video in this abandoned town. And he actually didn't know too much about it, but they ended up going into one of the houses, got into the basement, got into the tunnels that got them to ultimately the sanatorium in the middle. It's the hospital. So he ended up realizing that all of the homes were all connected underground so that way when people passed of tuberculosis, they weren't wheeling corpses through the neighborhood. They would actually wheel them all underground. And it's, of course, when you hear what I've just said, of course, everyone's going to be like, oh, it's haunted. Right. And there is a lot of, if you guys are into it, haunted, spooky stories about it. And so he actually went and just recorded a video, like one like you just see here, sitting, and he tells this story, and he actually speaks very, very well and tells a story about his experience filming this video in Tranquil, which is something to listen to. So again, guys, if you got, and it's long, it's probably about 50 minutes long, but it's worth the listen. If you listen to us talk for 2 hours in a pod, you can listen to this thing for 50 minutes. And so funny enough, he speaks in a certain way. And then I was listening to our pod that we just did last night, which I also updated everyone at the beginning of this video, how we really messed up the other night. And so I'm listening to our recording, trying to, because there was like a certain point. Remember at the beginning, I was just like, all of the bad stuff started happening on the eve of October 22nd. And I'm like, man, I'm almost like, to me, I'm like, I was reminding myself of hearing that story that Tom said on that video. So whatever, maybe it's like a certain thing when you tell a story, but
yeah. No, don't remind me about that. That whole pod thing still got my guts turning.
Oh, Jerry, oh man, look at this. Tom is a beast. Tom spits mad facts. He's a deep thinker. Love Tom McDonald. Like, man, like and I love it. Like he won't like go mainstream. He won't sign with a label. He's completely independent. He actually bought a beat off Eminem via NFT, and he did like a Dear Slim like song rebuttal thing. Just getting into my love for hip hop. If anybody didn't know where Infamous came from, clearly Mobb Deep back in the day, the Infamous. So there's another fact. Super cool. Check it out.
Yeah. Okay, buddy. Well, I should probably get back at making this thing safe for us, eh?
Yeah, you should. So TFI module, basic little toolkit. We actually talked about that in the pod, how you can pretty much strip one of these cars down with like your in-home China wrench and socket set / screwdriver. You get the little vice grips, the little, pliers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe if
I
the
know.
alternator goes bad, we do got that red top. It'll last for a little bit.
It's true. I know. I'm like, it's funny, right? Because like, okay, I get it, like TFI module, like, but like, where do you start and where do you stop? Right?
Well,
Like,
that's pretty much it. The thing is, whatever we bring won't help us.
no, that's the thing. Because you bring it, it won't screw up, right?
But here's the thing, man. Honestly, I feel like even if we blew the motor up, if somebody's got a motor, we can change it roadside.
Yeah. I still got a good back. No, I know it's one of those things, right? Like, what do you bring? I mean, this car does have a spare, even though it doesn't sit in the spare tire holder because of the boom box. But we do got the stock donut.
Look at that.
Hey,
holds good pressure.
inflate to 60 psi, max speed, 32 miles an hour. Yeah, I don't know, right? Like, I know, to your point, like everything we bring, we're not going to need. And I'm like, the only iffy parts of this trip, I think, is going to be that Yellowstone leg, because chances are we're going to have spotty service. So if you got to call a parts store or phone a friend or whatever, right?
Again, we need the old Zach Morris. I bet you it gets reception out there.
Yeah, the old Motorola. So yeah, that's going to be the only iffy section that I can think of. But I don't know. All things considered. I see my name popping up in the comments.
Oh man, Jerry, man, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for the beer money. We appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah, I don't know, right? Like, I think it's going to be one of those things. Like, you just got to go into it with a positive attitude. Like, this trip's happening no matter what. And check everything twice before you go. And wheels up, head south.
Like, I don't want to jinx it, but I've said it in a lot of videos. And if I don't, I guess, practice what I preach, then obviously I wouldn't be genuine in that sense. But I genuinely feel this car being driven as much as it has, like other than something stupid like maybe a bulb or something just sort of deciding to die due to age, I feel like it should be a pretty uneventful trip. You know, and you know, the strawberry car, and actually even my white coupe, was really good because I kept putting a lot of miles on it. Then it sat for 10 years. I got it back and it had like leaky brake lines and stuff or leaky calipers, I should say, wheel cylinders, stuff drying up, stuff that just sort of deteriorates from sitting. If you guys saw the 82 coupe video that I posted, that's literally sat for the past 22 years. Did I get it to fire up? Absolutely. However, like, you'd be lucky if you got 10 miles down the road. Like, every pulley spins, yes, but it's spinning with probably a flat spot or some wear from some corrosion or God knows what. And all of a sudden the alternator is going to go. The smog pump's going to seize up. Water pump's going to let loose. All the seals are leaking out of every orifice, pouring oil out of the valve cover. We know the timing cover is probably going to leak. Then the water pump's going to leak. The heater core is definitely going to let loose. Like, do not be fooled if you think your old original heater core is just going to like magically last while everyone else's has gone bad. Like, it's going to go.
Hey, on that note, Sean, the previous owner, chatted with him on an email, and it has had the heater core done in it once.
Nice.
My 92 is still on its original.
So peek up there real quick, see if it's a copper core or aluminum. So anybody who's listening, if you actually still have the OG heater core and it's that copper one, take it to a really good radiator shop and get them to rebuild it. Like, try and avoid the Spectra and the whatever else. If you can get it rebuilt and rebuilt properly, you'll never have another issue. Starter solenoid, yes. And I like how you threw Infamous in there. The good thing about a starter solenoid going bad is that you can always jump it. The only time when it's bad is when it actually just stays engaged and your starter keeps spinning. And at that point, you like hit it with a hammer and then hopefully it stops. What do we got?
Can't tell.
Oh, hoses are all the way on, huh?
Right to the firewall.
Yeah. But, well, I think
She'll
that's
be
probably
fine.
a pretty good time.
I've been talking good to her, right? Telling her she's a good girl. Like, she'll be fine. And if she won't, you know what? Regardless, how funny or fun is this story going to be if nothing happens? Like, something's got to happen. Like, you know what I mean? And
You know
I guess
what the problem is? It's not going to be the car. It's going to be like either we end up with back problems because we're old now, road tripping an old Fox body for so long, or like one of us like dislodged some kidney stones and like we're in serious pain, or like we didn't book any accommodations on time because we're just sending it, and then we end up in the middle of nowhere and have to sleep in the car. Like, that is the type of stuff I foresee happening.
Yeah. The Calypso Coyote. Now you're thinking, buddy. Never mind the TFI module. Just bring some Aleve. It's true. Or, like, God forbid you get a bad hot rod at the 7-Eleven, right? And you, I don't know, shit your pants along the way. Whatever. Like, who knows? There's going to be all kinds of good stuff that comes of it. And I don't know if I'm maybe repeating something you said earlier, but the plan is, like, obviously to document all the way along. And then we're going to do like a halfway or a 2/3 the way recap when we hit Texas. So probably pod and live. And then similarly, once we get to Foxtoberfest, because I mean, both legs are quite impressive miles. So there's going to be all kinds of stories to tell we'll definitely want to get out to you guys. So, and/or live Instagrams too. Like, I don't know, the goofy thing with, at least I find the goofy thing with YouTube and Instagram is you don't have people the same amount or same people on both platforms. You're kind of one or the other sometimes, some crossover, but anyway, we'll try to keep you guys up to date in any and all formats that you might follow along with. So, but yeah, to reiterate what Chris said earlier, like, I don't know, help us out and spread the word, if you will. We think it's kind of neat what we're doing. We hope you guys do too. I mean, really, as much as we're doing it for ourselves, like, I think this is kind of we're doing it for the Fox body community, right? Like, yeah. I don't know.
Oh man, it's gonna be awesome. Man, I'm kind of howling at the comments here. We got like no massages, no reach arounds, no whatever. Chef Shade Tree, what's up, man? Happy to have you in here. First time, hopefully you'll be a long time. You guys crack me up.
Oh my God. I can't wait to spend 4 or 5 days in a house with Tommy. Good gracious.
Oh man.
And some of his buddies are apparently staying down the road. Are you aware of this? Yeah. Oh yeah. Like we're taking over the block. I think there's like 3 houses on this road that we're staying on, and we got 2 of the 3 rented. So actually, and nobody's seen the place, right? We've all just kind of done the Google Maps scenario. Tom's of the impression that it might be kind of one of these like Victorian gravel driveways in. I'm saying that just to class it up. It's probably just a gravel driveway. But anyway, yeah, I mean, imagine if that was paved. Ooh. That guy in the middle, because it is like, we're this house, then there's the non-rented house, and then there's Tom's buddies on the other side.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So we should just reach out to the house in the middle and just be like, listen, dude, you might as well just join in because, like, let's be serious here.
if we show up and there's a fox in the driveway, I'll poop my pants.
Right.
And
Oh, by the way, do we know if the DeFox crew are coming? Because I actually sent Paul a message. He was going to reach back out to me. I didn't hear back from him.
no, not yet. I mean, the poor, well, guy and gal, right? Like they've made the announcements in the past, and then you know what happens. And I got to start watching my language on the lives. So anyway, I haven't heard back from them. I think they're on a bad streak. I mean, I got a quick little cryptic text from him, and he said that he was going into the vet with his dog. Like they're just one thing after another dealing with garbage. So I don't know. I'm still waiting to hear back, but I don't know. I'm sure they wouldn't mind us sharing this. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Everybody understands. But yeah, Paul and Sally might be coming down too. So
Well, I hope it works because I need somebody to drive a car.
there you go. So
No.
yeah, that'd be great to see them. They can hold the hangover workouts for us in the morning. We'll get Tommy out there doing some chin ups with Paul and Sally.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Man, I'll try. Like, I'm not going to be able to do that stuff. Like, I don't know.
Do some yoga and some napping before we get after it again for the.
We can do like a Fox body dash removal race or something. Like, I'd be in for that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to propose that for next year's Foxtoberfest, there should be competitions. How fast, like, can you swap a heater core? Or, like, here's a good one. Matt from Fox Resto would love this. How fast could you fix a shark fin in a convertible, like the rear quarter glass?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that'd be a race. The worst part about it is you'd be ruined for the rest of the Foxtoberfest week because your hands would be bleeding, your knuckles would be shattered.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think that'd be a good one because, like, they got everything else going, right? So it's stereo competition, and they should have, like, some Fox body competitions. And, like, Matt could set it up. Like, I'm sure there's enough stuff there. Or, like, maybe, like, some really in-depth knowledge.
Right? Just in his boneyard there. I mean, the guy's got dozens of cars sitting there. So,
and the funny thing is, as much as we know about these cars, we always learn something new. Like, I taught you something new last night with your daytime running light module.
True.
So,
Hey, speaking of Canadian stuff, Sean's on here. He just got that Dutch kit on his coupe.
I know. He said he got the paint. So I'm like waiting to see him just get that color matched, get the car complete, because like that's going to be a good looking car. I'm excited for him. You know, he's followed quite a long time. You know, Sean, I appreciate it, man. He even picked up some Dutch springs that I bought off Facebook Marketplace a couple months ago. He picked them up. He brought them to Dale's shop for me.
Yeah.
Great guy.
He's got one of the plates too. I know the guy's supporting everybody. It's awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that's probably a pretty good time to call it. I know you got to get back to doing what you're doing, even though you're 2 hours, 3 hours if you guys are in Eastern time watching.
Great here.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and relax a little bit myself, but you know, we appreciate everybody who's tuned in and really looking forward to this road trip. Again, if you know, you guys see us post, please share or just like spread the hashtag Detch3000 as we are doing the journey so that we can get it trending in the Fox body world. You know, we're not trying to like do some crazy breaking the internet type stuff, but you know, we would like to try and get some pretty good coverage for anybody else who loves Fox bodies. It's a pretty cool trip and a pretty cool journey. And I'm sure there's going to be some stories. So be sure to stay tuned for them. Gary and I are probably going to do another live next weekend. I think we are scheduled to try and get something in officially. This is actually like a really unofficial live. I was just like, you know what? I got a little bit of dead time. I'm going to throw something out, start spreading the word. And so we'll talk more about it next weekend because then it'll be days away from it starting. So thank you all again. And if any of you guys happen to be within that journey and interstate side road close to the bar / distillery, let us know.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think so too, buddy. And like, we'll do that like next weekend, kind of live, sort of right before. And then we'll probably each almost, I'm thinking, do one like just to start the trip off. I'll do one like as I'm getting behind the wheel type thing. And whatever, just stay tuned, I guess, is the best thing we could tell you guys if you're interested in following along on this.
I love comments. I've never seen this before. As a BMW guy, I love it. Think first, man. I'm like putting a mental note on that one. 100%. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening to us yammer here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Gary, for coming in. Thank you all for tuning in. And we will see you live again next weekend. And then obviously you'll see our normal releases throughout the week. Be sure to check out the podcast that comes out every single Monday. And you can hear our major mess up and our tail between our legs
I
this
think
Monday.
we made up for it.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, like we didn't make up for it, but we tried our best and we put out a couple of good hours of good stuff. The original would have been better, but anyway, we did our best.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you soon.
Take care, guys.